fostering sustainable economic growth and environmental stewardship. So by bringing together experts from Malaysia and Kazakhstan, this webinar aims to equip participants with the knowledge, strategies, and insights needed to navigate and leverage the burgeoning sector of environmentally focused financing. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to introduce the acting chairman of the management board, Mr. Tamilan Muhammad Zainov, who will be delivering the opening speech, representing the Astana International Financial Center Authority, AIFC. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Tamilan as he will share his perspectives on navigating the green money wave. So please welcome Mr. Tamilan.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone to participate. And first of all, I'd like to greet our Malaysian friends and say Ramadan Kareem as third day for us as well. So before I start and discussing the green finance agenda, I'd probably like to give some brief overview of what Astana International Financial Center is and what it was created for. AIFC is a free economic zone, basically, which has its own boundary, physical boundary, and which runs its own separate system of law. Which in turn is based on English common law. So like this was made possible thanks to adoption of special law on AIFC, which has been given the status of constitutional law, which means that basically the clauses set out in our constitutional law are higher in terms of legislative power than any other national laws. So basically, it's so for some participants, probably many participants are familiar with DIFC, Dubai International Financial Center, or ADGM in Abu Dhabi. So in terms of legal setup, this is quite a similar concept. Basically, it's a jurisdiction within Kazakhstan, which operates under the principles and norms of English law. To enable this, we also create our own international court, which basically features a panel of international judges. They're all non-Kazakh, they're all international with vast judicial experience in common law jurisdictions. We have created a separate regulatory framework for companies providing financial services. And the major feature of this regime is the fact that it's based on risk-based approach. So contrary to national Kazakh legislation for financial services, which is quite prescriptive and rule-based, the regulations of the Astana International Financial Center is very much principle-based, and conduct of supervision enforcement is relies on risk-oriented approach, which means that every individual case is assessed on its own separately, depending on the extent and nature of every single particular instance. On top of that, we also launched our own stock exchange called Astana International Exchange. We've done that jointly with NASDAQ, the US-based technology firm, and Shanghai Stock Exchange. And the Chinese Silk Road Fund also joined shareholders later on during the journey. So like this is the platform which basically currently serves as the main exchange for placement of green bonds as well. So like I guess around half of the volume of green bonds were placed through our stock exchange up to date. Coming back to the question of the green finance, from the outset, we have identified green finance and sustainable finance in a broader sense as our priority. So we launched in 2017, and in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, we set up our own separate subsidiary company called Green Finance Center, which was tasked with promoting green finance agenda in the AFC. And as a matter of fact, actually, the Green Finance Center was the major body behind adoption of green taxonomy of Kazakhstan. The whole country's green taxonomy was basically was adopted thanks to a large extent due or thanks to the work carried out by Green Finance Center. So speaking about the green finance market of Kazakhstan overall, I think it is quite small compared to more mature economies. Obviously, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the volume of green bonds or of green bonds of green finance instruments were valued at around $300 million as of October, November last year. So obviously, this is quite small, but it was basically zero back 5 years ago. So like there is definitely a very positive dynamics over the past few years. And if I'm not mistaken, the first green bond was issued in 2020. Basically, this is when the real transactional history of green finance starts in Kazakhstan. And obviously, as I said, Kazakhstan Green Finance Center of the AFC played a vital role in kickstarting this market. So I think I could also maybe dwell upon the role of Green Finance Center in more detail, but I'd like to maybe leave some space for my colleague Aygul Kusalieva, who's also a speaker on this panel, to provide more details and more informative information. I think I'll stop here and I think get engaged as the discussion moves on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tamilan, for the opening speech and also for your sharings. Well, without further ado, it's time for the highlight of our webinar, the panel discussion on the Green Money Wave, Mastering the Art of Environmentally Focused Financing. Well, to start with, let me introduce the moderator of today's webinar. Mr. Muhammad Prasad Hanif has selected as one of the 100 LinkedIn icons. He is the professional with integrity and 16 years of experience at national and international levels, specializing in project management, business development, and human capital development. Additionally, he is acknowledged as business professional with diverse business knowledge, experience in various industries, driving positive change. And currently, he serves as the Secretary General of Association of Development Finance of Institutions of Malaysia. And as for our first speaker, we have Mr. Tamilan. Mr. Tamilan, he is the acting chairman of the management board from Astana International Financial Center Authority, AFC. And his expertise in asset management and private banking markets has been instrumental in driving growth and development, having held key positions in renowned organizations such as National Investment Corporation of the National Bank of Kazakhstan, the Al-Falah Capital Partners Investment Company, and the Samruk Khazina Fund. Tamilan brings a wealth of knowledge and strategic insights to his new role. Well, our second speaker, we have Ms. Aygul Kusalieva. She is the Director of Sustainable Development AIFC Authority. Aygul is a professional with over than 14 years of success in strategy, statistics, and finance. And Aygul and her team was behind the development of International Green Taxonomy of Kazakhstan and relevant legislation on the subsidy scheme for green projects. And as our third speaker, we have Mrs. Zaki Ahmad Esa. She serves as the Chief Sustainability Officer at SME Bank Malaysia, a wholly owned development financial institution, DFI, under the Ministry of Finance and an agency under the Ministry of Entrepreneur and Cooperative Development. Under Zakia's guidance, SME Bank has made significant strides in its sustainability journey. It became the first DFI in the country to issue sustainability sukuk, exceptionally meeting its funding and working capital requirements. And our fourth speaker is Ms. Carmen Ng. Carmen Ng is the Head Sustainability and Corporate Responsibility Department of Agrobank Malaysia. She has over 9 years of experience in sustainability management, strategic planning, and ESG ratings with deep industry experience in financial institutions. She is a member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA, and she also holds a bachelor's in applied accounting with honors from Oxford Brookes University. So without further ado, let us begin the panel discussion. If Mr. Prasad is ready, so the screen is yours, Mr. Prasad.
Thank you, Cik Shuhaida, on that wonderful introduction. And right before we jump into the discussion with our panelists, it's good for us to have a little bit of a background on the issue itself. The concept of green finance has rapidly ascended the global agenda, driven by the urgent need to address climate change and promote sustainable development. And us within the Association of Development Finance Institution, this becomes one of our main priorities as well. Now, it encompasses a wide range of financial services and products aimed at supporting projects that have a positive environmental impact, such as renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and conservation efforts. The global green finance market has seen exponential growth, with the issuance of green bonds and loans increasingly significantly over the last few years, just as Mr. Temerlan mentioned earlier. Now, this surge in green financing is a response towards the growing recognition of the environmental risks posed by traditional investment practices, as well as the potential for green investments to generate substantial economic returns. The United Nations Environment Programme estimates that transitioning to a green economy requires substantial financial investments ranging up to trillions of dollars, highlighting the critical role of the finance sector in achieving these sustainable development goals. So Malaysia and Kazakhstan, both nations with rich natural resources and a commitment to sustainable development, we are uniquely positioned to lead this transition in our respective regions and beyond. Now, the collaboration between ADFIM and AIFC for this webinar underscores a shared vision for a sustainable financial system that supports economic growth without compromising environmental integrity. That's why our team from AIFC, as well as our team in ADFIM, has been working for the last few months actually in trying to organize this webinar today. Now, it is a call to action for financial professionals, especially those attending today, as well as investors, to be at the forefront of this transformative journey, leveraging green finance as a tool for positive change. Now, without much of, delay in time, I would like to ask the first question essentially to Temerlan. Temerlan, can you share some insights into how AIFC has influenced the growth of green financing within your region, either within Kazakhstan or Central Asia? And with your experience, what are the key milestones in green finance at AIFC that you are most proud of, and why would that be?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Lok. I think I've covered some ground already. Probably repeat some of that, but still, Astana International Financial Center, as I said, like one of the primary goals of it is to promote the country's long-term economic growth, which includes the transition to a low-carbon economy. This is enabled through attracting of long-term investments and creating a supportive financial ecosystem. So as I mentioned, in 2018, we as an institution decided to establish our dedicated subsidiary called Green Finance Center, the primary goal of which is to accelerate Central Asia's countries' transition to low-carbon and more sustainable economy. By way of establishing a well-functioning market in the region, and providing a regulatory environment for issuance of green, social, sustainable bonds and loans, etc. So the Green Finance, AFC Green Finance Center is there to ensure the development of sustainable finance policies and mechanisms. And I guess if we speak about the key milestone, I should point out that this company is the only company in Central Asia, and I guess in the whole post-Soviet Union space, actually, that has been accredited by Climate Bonds Initiative, CBI, to verify sustainable finance instruments for CBI certification, and was also included in the external review service mapping of ICMA, International Capital Markets Association. So I think that I guess showcases the commitment that AFC has in terms of developing the green finance market. So, and in addition to that, the center also serves as the regional office for green investment principles for Belt and Road in Central Asia. So basically, we position ourselves as the major hub in Central Asia for promoting green investment principles with a focus on investments across the Belt and Road Initiative. Number-wise, I think more than 60% of all green bonds and loans to Kazakhstan were issued with the support of the AFC Green Finance Center. And as I said, like the center offers a variety of services to assist companies in issuing sustainable bonds and providing loans by way of developing the necessary documents and policies in the field of sustainable finance. Just to name a few, is the sustainable finance policies, pre-issuance reporting, annual reports on impact of project funded through the issuance of sustainable development bonds, etc., etc.
Right.
And as already mentioned, I think the one of the biggest or the most important contribution of the AFC was the adoption of green taxonomy in Kazakhstan, the countrywide green taxonomy, which was basically passed on by the resolution of the government of Kazakhstan, and was also integrated in some parts of environmental code of Kazakhstan, which basically, I think, laid the groundwork for issuance and development of sustainable green finance overall. So like this, since adoption of this taxonomy, there is a clear classification of what is a green finance, what is a green project, which basically enhance the access of companies working in the direction of transition to low carbon to finance. Basically, I think these are the key points I thought I should mention. Yes, and yeah.
Sure, fantastic. Thank you very much on that clarification. I see that AIFC has actually supported much of the initiatives, especially in terms of the supporting the green finance bonds and whatnot, which brings us to the topic to Aygul. Well, Aygul has been, very central to developing the Kazakhstan's green finance system. Especially, we mentioned that she was involved in the taxonomy and policy as well. Now, Aygul, could you highlight a particular project, product, or initiative that you believe has had the most impact in terms of your work, and how have your efforts in integrating green finance policies within Kazakhstan banking sector progressed? What is the progress right now, and what outcomes have you observed so far?
All right. Thank you very much for your introduction, and thank you for having me here today. So since it's afternoon in Malaysia, and you were just saying that like people will be rushing to leave soon, let me share one slide to the screen. So to support some of my, hold on. To support my statements, give me a moment. I'm trying to see where the, okay, I see it now.
Can we see the slide? There you go.
Yeah, there's only one slide.
Yes.
Okay. So you were talking about the policy and regulations, and I would like to highlight that when we look at the development of the market in general, we look from the perspective of the main 4 pillars, which are important for comprehensive development. So we don't talk about only development of the products or talking about disclosure. We need to come to the market and support it from every angle to make sure that we have the whole system in place which can support the transition. And basically, we look at the perspective of the standards which are important to provide the clarity, as Tamilan was already mentioning, what is green and what is not. It's quite important to provide the market participants, some sort of instruments which would help them, incentivize them to use the instruments, to use the standards and go green, basically. And it's quite important to have clarity on the where we're standing. So when we talk about those incentives, we need to understand what's the amount of the green loans in the market as of now and where we're heading. And in case the number is quite small, what can we do in terms of incentives to support the market, right? And as you mentioned, we've been sort of center which was providing this ground for the whole market of Kazakhstan, jurisdiction of Kazakhstan and the AIFC, the financial center itself. So it was already mentioned, there were like a lot of initiatives have been done since 2016, 17. And maybe one of the most important things which I want to maybe highlight here is the development of the concept of green financial system for Kazakhstan. So that document was actually adopted in 2017 and provides us overview how we want to develop the market. So the concept actually identified the green bond as the main instrument to be introduced at the AIFC market. And it provides sort of a roadmap, for every 3-4 years, how the market should be developed. And even the carbon market, which is sort of upholding now in Kazakhstan, is identified there as one of the priorities to be taken care of down the road. And it was already mentioned about the green taxonomy, and I want to sort of, echo here that it's quite important thing because it provides this clarity, it helps to avoid the greenwashing. It provides sort of, common language for all the market participants. We're talking about the regulators, we're talking about the market players who are actually using these instruments. We're talking about investors, and this is very important to be on the same page if you want to develop the comprehensive market. In that time, we started working on the standard back in 2019, and it was adopted in the same year when the climate change taxonomy of Malaysia was adopted. And as you may know, there are sort of several methodological approaches, right, to develop the taxonomy. We know this principle-based approach, the white list, technical criteria, and then the mixed version, right? The one where you can use both those 3 approaches, right? In terms of Malaysia and ASEAN, we know that the taxonomy there is principle-based, which provides sort of more room, right, for the market players. In case of Kazakhstan, the economy of the country is heavily relying on fossil fuels. In that terms, we need like more clarity, in terms of what is green and what is not. That's why we chose the way of a white list methodology for our taxonomy, which provides like type of the projects which can be assessed as a green with the concrete thresholds to sort of, verify the project as a green in 8 sectors of the economy. And in fact, there are not many green assets, right? We know that in the world, maybe up to 10% of pure green assets. Rest of them, they should be transitioned, right, from the brown to green. In that sense, it's quite relevant for Kazakhstan because we do need to transition, right? For that reason, we're working also on the amendments to our current green taxonomy to have the transitional projects included in the standard. So those brown assets we have within our economy have the opportunity, to transition. And you also mentioned the banking sector. So AIFC basically is working on development of the capital market. But since we're in this unique position where we're promoting green finance, not only within the financial center, but also within the whole jurisdiction of the country, we're also working with the banking sector. And in fact, we need to kind of admit here that the taxonomy is more relevant for banking sector to be used, because when the issuer goes to the market, green bond issuers, mostly they rely on the international standards, and that makes, issuance more convenient for them. In terms of banks, they need to provide this clarity on the level of each project, right? And therefore, it's quite important for them to use this standard when they actually provide the loans, right? In that sense, we recently started this project with the regulator in the Kazakh jurisdiction to start the collection of the statistics. So as I said, we need to understand where we're standing, right? For that sense, we included the attribute of the green taxonomy in the banking, what's the called, like the banking forms, like statistics forms. So the second tier banks start the collection of the official statistics, the number of the and the amount of the green loans in their portfolio. And in that sense, we can have sort of more clear understanding how much, what's the green portfolio of the banks, right? And from there, we can further accelerate those incentives which we want to put in place. And this slide basically provides you overview of the framework, not only in Kazakhstan, but both in AFC. So those are standards which are already put in place and those we're working on. You can see that there are some incentives already put in place, subsidy scheme for green projects, and may tell about this maybe a bit later, more in details.
Thank you on that comprehensive introduction. And I think that brings us to our question in terms of when we're talking with Aygul, it's talking about getting the taxonomy set up for the banking sector to implement. So now we go to the banking sector themselves and find out what's happening here in Malaysia. So I will go to Ms. Carmen Ng with over 9 years in sustainability management. Could you share some notable success stories from Agrobank's journey towards sustainability, perhaps, with the taxonomy that we have here in Malaysia? And how has Agrobank's sustainability agenda made a tangible impact on the economy, social empowerment, and environmental development?
Thank you, Prasad. Before I begin, perhaps Ramadan greetings to all who are observing the holy month of fast. In terms of where Agrobank's journey in sustainability and any success story, I think it's a bit unfair for me to just name one story because it would not do justice to my colleagues who have been on the ground working very hard to uphold the developmental mandate for Agrobank. So I would say perhaps in the past, Agrobank only knows green financing as providing financing to only sustainability certified companies, and this would therefore mean companies who have the Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil Certificate (MSPO) or even the Malaysian Certificate for Good Agriculture Practices (MyGAP). But with the proliferation of green and sustainable financing, I think everybody in the room here would be able to appreciate that sustainable financing is so much more than just providing financing to just such an exclusive list of companies. So that's not the way to go. In this sense here, Agrobank being a development financial institution solely looking at agriculture to support the development of the agriculture industry, we found our niche to provide technology and modernization financing to support the development of this sector. And this is such an important area because with food security in the forefront of a lot of the discussion today, we are already seeing that there is a pressing need for the industry to not just maintain where things are, but to also have a fine balance with pushing for improvements and modernization. In Agrobank as well, we still have a focus on providing financing to micro, small, and medium enterprises. This is to highlight the importance of the unique nature of the agriculture sector in Malaysia, whereby a lot of our key players are actually the smallholders, and this is still and always will remain as Agrobank's key mandate to the Malaysian sector. On the flip side, however, advocacy to the industry and bringing our voice to the table was a key highlight in the last few years. I think Agrobank of late has not been in the news these days, but we do try to leave our voice and our footprint in a lot of the conversations. For example, Agrobank was the project manager for one of the sectoral guides under the value-based intermediation assessment and financing framework, whereby we wanted to develop a unique environmental, social, and governance risk approach to assist banks to evaluate the agri-food sector companies. So there are a few guidelines in livestock, fishing, forestry, as well as the plantation sector. Unfortunately, that guide, we have not yet seen its publication. It's still under finalization. So we hope that there will be some news on that front very soon. I will perhaps stop here for now.
Thank you, Carmen, on that clarification. And we also see that there's a lot of technological and modernization financing that Agrobank is doing in the sustainability agenda. But the last time I was in Astana as well as Almaty, there was a lot of connections in terms of SME development, right? So here in Malaysia, we have SME Bank. Now, we also talked a little bit about Kazakhstan AIFC's effort in supporting green bonds and whatnot. Here in Malaysia, SME Bank's issuance of a sustainability sukuk is a significant achievement. Now, Puan Zakia, perhaps can you elaborate on how this initiatives aligns with the SME Bank's overall sustainability goals, how it impacts the SMEs, and what impact has the sustainability sukuk has had on SME Bank, its clients, and the broader market's perception of sustainable investment options?
Thank you, Mr. Prasad. Thank you for having me here. Talking about green money wave, obviously the key ingredient is money. So there are various ways of raising funds, raising money. One of it, obviously, from financing, from banking sector, and the other one is from the capital markets, where sukuk and bonds exist. Talking about bond or sukuk, yes, we have successfully established our 3 billion sustainability sukuk program in 2021. And this is our first non-government guarantee sukuk program, which was accorded AAA rating by the Malaysian Rating Corporation Berhad, in short, MARC. Being a DFI, the issuance of this sustainability sukuk has positively impacted the bank from our capital management perspective, as well as to the capital market players, the investors. We provide opportunities for them to have instruments, Sharia compliant instruments, and as well the ultimate beneficiaries, i.e. the SMEs, because the fund raised from the sukuk is channeled to finance the SMEs, which is eligible based on our classification and our assessment. And in fact, our maiden sustainability sukuk issuance of 500 million in August 2021 marked the first sustainability sukuk issuance by a DFI in Malaysia. And so far, we have issued 2 billion sustainability sukuk, of which the proceeds have been fully allocated, as I mentioned earlier, to finance the eligible SME customers. And talking about eligible customers, how do we assess it? Basically, we have our sustainability sukuk framework. It's in our website if anyone interested to know. And our sustainability sukuk framework is aligned with the sustainable and responsible investment sukuk framework issued by the Securities Commission Malaysia, as well as is aligned with Asian Sustainability Green Social Bond Standards issued by Asian Capital Market Forum. To see how it aligns with us, actually the issues of sustainability sukuk, the proceeds that we raise enable us to mobilize funds for our sustainability financing. Again, to share the sweet part of this sustainability issuance is that all of our issuances are overly subscribed. For example, our second issuance, initially we intend to issue only 300 million, but however, this subscription is 536 million, ended up we upsized to 500 million. And another sweet part to talk about our sustainability sukuk is that we have won 6 prestigious awards from our sukuk issuances. The first award is the Best Asian Green SRI Sukuk from Alpha Southeast Asia. And the 6th award, the latest one, is the Best Sustainability Sukuk Award for SME category by Asset AAA Islamic Finance Award 2023. As we can see, all our sustainability sukuk issuance experience oversubscription. We would say that market perceptions on sustainable investment options is awesome and is growing. Thank you for now.
Thank you, Puan Zakia, on that enlightening answer. we can see that, well, SME Bank and Agro Bank, for those who are attending the webinar, they're essentially development finance institutions. And when you're talking about development finance institutions, it essentially meaning giving the biggest value, creating the biggest value for the unserved, underserved, to deliver the mandate given to them by the government, right? So they have to be creative in their products. They have to be creative in how they raise funds as well. They can't depend too much on the government as well. So these are some of the initiatives conducted by the DFIs here in Malaysia in order for them to in order for them to deliver the mandate. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about what has been, right? What we have done, right? So and one of the things that we have achieved. It's imperative for us to also talk about roadmaps and strategies. So moving on, I would like to ask Temirlan, looking ahead, what are the strategic priorities for AIFC in further embedding green finance principle within either Kazakhstan or Central Asia's financial sector? And do you see certain aspects that you need to focus on? And how does AIFC plan to leverage international partnerships to advance the green finance agenda? Over to you. You have to unmute.
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry. Yeah, thanks for your question. Speaking about long-term plans in the context of green finance for the AFC, I should probably say that Kazakhstan, I mean, up till now, we've been focusing primarily on the market of Kazakhstan itself, but lately we've been sort of expanding our reach into Central Asian countries. And to give you an example, like GFC supported a few green finance issues in Kyrgyzstan and in Uzbekistan. So these were pioneer issues actually for these countries, and we're happy that AFC Green Finance Center supported those issues. And this, I think, laid a very good groundwork for further work in this direction. So obviously, Central Asia is our sort of priority geography for the next like 3 to 5 years. And besides that, also, as you know, Kazakhstan is a Turkic-speaking country, which has set up its own council called the Council of Turkic States, which includes Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkey, Azerbaijan. This has been a long-lasting initiative, which is slowly but gathering some traction. And in last year, the president of Kazakhstan actually put forth a proposal to establish basically a headquarters for green finance for this Turkic state in Astana, in the Astana International Financial Center. So like unofficially has been endorsed by all parties, and this is another, I think, dimension we'll be exploring, so that we come up with more synergy, with more coordinated approach in terms of driving the green finance market overall. In terms of products, I think there will largely be focus as in the past on more on some conventional instruments like green finance, like green bonds, green loans, and we've also been looking into transition finance instruments like sustainability linked bonds, which were issued, I mean, the issuance of which took place just last year in Kazakhstan. I think we'll see more of these issues going forward, and obviously we as AFC will be very much involved in promoting these mechanisms. So we're speaking about sustainability linked bonds. These products are mostly suitable for companies which are basically want to become greener.
Right.
I mean, they're a bit brownie, but they want to become less brownie, let's say. So like, and I think I mean, just a case in practice was the issuance of first sustainability long bonds is the issuance of power plant in Almaty. So it used to be powered by coal, which caused a lot of environmental damage to the city. And now, thanks to availability of this instrument, basically the power plant is now switching to a gas-powered plant, which will obviously alleviate damage to the city. And Astana International Exchange is the home for the Astana International Exchange was the listing venue for those bonds, and Astana AFC Green Finance Center played a vital role in putting together this transaction overall. And I think we'll see many more of such stories. As you know, Kazakhstan and overall Central Asia countries are quite heavily resourced countries, and use a lot of coal to power the electricity generation, and the switch to a more sustainable forms of energy is something inevitable, and this is why we are like paying and will be paying a lot of attention to making this happen. Yeah,
we can see that Kazakhstan is essentially being the driver for the green finance in that region, with the establishment of the Green Finance Center and the collaborations between countries. This is essentially a very commendable effort, and that which brings us to Aigul's further role in creating a more enhanced roadmap and strategies. You know, in terms of what essentially are the next steps for Kazakhstan in enhancing its green finance framework? Where do you see this going, or how do you have in terms of your plan to contribute further to the development of this? And in terms of policy and legislations, what future initiatives do you think that we can expect to see that will further bolster the green project subsidies and investments? Just like Tamilan mentioned, right, there's a lot of brownie industry still there, right? So what will we be seeing in the future? So perhaps Aigul can address that.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, indeed, as it was already mentioned, we do need to help the companies in Kazakhstan in transition, and in that sense, want to provide them sort of, let's say, framework which they can rely on, right? And as I mentioned, we want to have these transition projects included into the taxonomy as the transitional ones. So those companies which would like to issue the sustainability-linked bonds or get those financial instruments can rely on the standard as provision of the adherence, right, to the standard to make sure that it's in line with the national vision. And we need to kind of highlight here that the country committed to become carbon neutral by 2060. So last year the strategy was adopted, the national strategy. Basically, there are some calculations, estimates saying that we need over than $600 billion to make this transition happen until 2060, and that's the amount of investment we need to, have in the economy. Of course, it's investment in the new green technologies. It's investment which can come from the government, but also we need to bring more investment, right? Like really direct investment, foreign investment, and in that sense, it's quite important to have this regulatory framework in place, right, which provides the clarity. That's why I want to mention here that having those amendments in place and providing this ground, let's say, for the gas and nuclear projects to be considered green and transitional is quite important. Another thing I want to mention here is incentives. So I mentioned earlier that we do have this subsidy scheme program in place for small and medium enterprises. So along with the green taxonomy in 2021 and 2022, we developed this program, which is basically provides subsidy for the projects which are in line with the green taxonomy. So basically, the final interest rate for those projects are 6%, and the projects can get this funding for up to 5 years, but it's targeting only SMEs. But we also understand those large infrastructure projects, they are out of scope of SMEs, and those projects, when they are called green or they are called transitional, they need to have this verification, which is extra cost, right? In some senses, it might be quite a burden for some of projects, and in that case, we do see that we need to do more work in terms of incentives. And there are the studies that let's say, reducing capital requirements for green assets, which is not direct injection of funding, right, but still a way of incentivizing and providing this cheaper funding for green projects can be used. So capital requirements actually play a central role, right, in financial regulation. But in their current existing form, they fail to capture these environmental-related financial risks. And in a way, they act as a barrier for the transition. So green differentiated capital requirements, they are one of the tools, let's say, consistent with a strong macroprudential approach. So if it's designed accurately to capture, let's say, the environmental footprint of the banks and minimize the financial side effects, right, they can contribute actually to greening the financial system of the countries. But for that to be done in the right way, we do need to have the data in place, right, to rely on. That's why I want to come back to the point I was doing earlier, that we need to have these comprehensive statistics in place, right? Not just 1 year, 2 years, like for a few years, where we can see the data and kind of use this approach, right, from the banking system point of view. This, let's say, reduced capital requirements for green assets approach is being used in China, which was developing its green finance system quite since like 2013, right? So they have really good database, right? Collected data already on the green loans, and they use that data, right, to build this regulatory approach. And I also know that this approach is being tested by the Central Bank of Russia. Right. So it can be one of the ways to go for us as well. Once we have this data in place, it's a way to incentivize, the financing of the green projects. And also, I want to mention here another project we're working on currently is the sovereign green bonds. So we see a lot of corporate issuances in Kazakhstan and the region, but as of now, only Uzbekistan and Central Asia issued the sovereign SDG and the green bonds. And we know from a lot of researches, and we also observe ourselves the market rate, we see that the sovereign issuances, they provide sort of push, to the market. And we know a good example of Hungary, which was issuing a lot of sovereign bonds. And if you look at the market of Hungary, which is basically, peer market for Kazakhstan, just like Malaysia, Chile, for instance, which already issued sovereign bonds, you may see that size of those countries' markets are quite large compared to Kazakhstan. So for that reason, I'm working with the Ministry of Finance to amend the national legislation to make sure that the government has a legislative, let's say, framework to issue the sovereign bonds. And that's one of the ways also to boost the market for us. Right.
Thank you on that. We see regulatory framework is very important. Incentives are also important in terms of how you say the roadmap from strategies for Kazakhstan. Data collection is also very important in that. And then we also saw sovereign green bond is one of the initiatives that we will be seeing soon. Now going to Agrobank, from what in terms of what are the Agrobank's future plans for integrating sustainability more deeply into its operations and financial products? And we would like to know, like earlier on, we're talking about, financing, technology, and modernization. So now, how do you actually integrate it more into your operations, as well as what future financial products do we hope to see? And how is Agrobank essentially positioning itself to address the evolving sustainability needs of its stakeholder in the agriculture sector, especially now that in Malaysia, essentially, I'm not sure in Kazakhstan, perhaps, food security is one of the key issues as well. So perhaps Carmen can enlighten us on this.
Thank you, Prasad. Perhaps I should start off with a premise saying that at Agrobank, sustainability is the cornerstone of our corporate strategy. This was already part and parcel of our day-to-day operations, and we do have a corporate strategy in place. That said, we have developed a sustainability approach to sort of appeal to our stakeholders. If ever there is an external stakeholder who asks about what is our sustainability strategy, we would be able to deliver our message. Going forward into 2024, at Agrobank, we would like to do things with a more strategic focus and intent. What that means here is we are currently exploring if it is feasible to adopt an internal climate target. This is an area whereby the Central Bank, Bank Negara Malaysia, has highly encouraged all financial institutions, including development financial institutions like Agrobank, to consider adopting an internal climate target. So when Agrobank has already determined if it is in fact possible to develop our own internal climate target, we would therefore have our own initiatives and plans that would help us arrive at that climate target. This may also mean relooking at how we currently provide financing to our existing customers by integrating climate and the broader sustainability considerations into our products and services. This may also come in the form of carving out certain niches in our existing products and programs, or even coming up with brand new solutions that may fit the market. Because for our customer base right now, while there is a large segment of micro, small, as well as medium-sized entities, the broader trend of the agriculture sector is such that the larger players are calling the shots when it comes to sustainability. So they're the ones who are forefront when it comes to adopting sustainability certifications. They're also the ones in the forefront who are also looking at research and development to ensure better production processes, better yields, and lower input materials required for plantation upstream, as well as for the midstream and downstream. So internally, once we have determined our best foot forward when it comes to the climate lens, that way we can adopt a barbell strategy. One, to appeal to the larger stakeholders, those anchor companies, and to appeal to their to the supply base, as well as continuing our core focus to support our small, medium, as well as micro enterprises. And this is done by continuing to nurture our potential customers through our colleagues, in which we have a certain department that rolls out certain technical and business-related programs, training programs for potential customers who may not qualify yet for financing, but through these intervention programs, they will eventually gain that skill set to be able to run their own business and therefore qualify for financing. Internally as well, we are also seeing the greater importance of sustainability data. At this point, we are trying to get our footing right. So we are internally exploring what's the best way forward. This may mean the likes of data collection in terms of sustainability linked or related data to be collated in a systematic manner, and thereafter reported internally or perhaps even externally, as well as making use of this data for decision making. And this would perhaps then translate into better financial products, which perhaps meet the needs of customers at an even faster rate going forward. I will stop right here.
All right. Thank you, Carmen. I have a lot of questions on this one as well, but I'm going to go to the next round for me to ask those questions. So we've talked about the agriculture in Malaysia, how Agrobank is supporting it through their transformation as well as the transformation of the products for financing the agriculture sector. But it's also important for us to look at SMEs in Malaysia as well. So going to Puan Zakia, what are the next strategic steps for SME Bank in its journey towards sustainability, particularly in the context of SME development finance? And how is SME Bank planning to innovate or expand its green financing options to support more sustainable projects under its portfolio?
Thank you, Mr. Prasad. basically, we have just completed our 3-year sustainability roadmap, which covered 2021 until 2023. We call it Roadmap 1.0. We have achieved quite a lot, and we are progressing quite well, but we reckon it's a journey. It's a long journey that demands concerted efforts. Maybe I can share from our Roadmap 1.0, we have 3 phases. The first phase was the initiation phase, whereby we come up with the roadmap, the framework, the policies, the working committees, as well as our Sustainability Sukuk framework and our Sustainability Sukuk program. So it's like if we were to develop a house, it's a foundation stage. Then in the phase 2, it's an implementation phase, whereby we focus more on our internal staff. We institutionalize the ESG among the staff, because in order for us to go out and educate the SME customers, we need to be more understanding on this first. But again, 1 year is not enough. It's the continuous effort. And on the third phase is adoption, whereby last year we started to focus on customer. We have to bring them in to onboard in this ESG journey, so that we can assist them in coming out their transition plan. Moving forward, we'll be introducing our Sustainability Roadmap 2.0, definitely, which will be a continuation of the previous roadmap. And from there, we will lay down our strategic plan and necessary steps in meeting our sustainability goals, which has been set earlier. Maybe I can share, we have 4 broad sustainability goals. The first one is mobilizing fund for sustainable financing. The second one is to be carbon neutral operation in 2030. We also envision to be net zero by 2050 and employee volunteering hours. And I'm glad to share that we have also established our comprehensive sustainability scorecard end of last year, which will take effect this year onwards. This sustainability scorecard shall be an effective tool for us to track our sustainability progress and performance in a structured manner. And our key focus area shall be the material matters, based on the identified matters that we gauge when we have our key stakeholders engagement earlier. And our key focus areas would really so much rely on our 3 sustainability pillars, being the responsible banking, responsible business practices, and creating social impact. We will continue developing and innovating our products and programs to further support the growth of green finance nationwide. Maybe I can share with you, during our Roadmap 1.0, we have established 2 sustainability ESG-linked financing program. It's our Young Entrepreneur Fund and Industrial Building System Financing Program. And we have hit the allocated fund, and it has been completed. The program is still there, but the allocation has already fulfilled. In the future, we may extend the program, or we may enhance the program to suit the requirement of the SMEs out there. And in summary, SME Bank is committed to mobilize our funds for sustainable financing. Remember, we have 3 billion sustainability sukuk. We have issued 2 billion. We have another 1 billion. And we are well aware that we have to strive really hard in order for us to achieve what we have set as our goal. And we have to align ourselves with our central bank financial sector blueprint, whereby we are expected, that is the target, to achieve 50% of new financing for green and transitioning activities by 2026. And on the larger time frame, we are committed and in supporting Malaysia to achieve net zero GHG emission by 2050. We have the same goal. It's a tall order, but let's take the challenge. That's all for now.
Thank you, Puan Zakia. I think one of the key products there is the targeting of youth SMEs, because I think even if the more brown companies are difficult for us to change them, at least we catch them young as well. Now, we've talked about, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked a lot about what has been done and what the future looks like, right? We've talked about roadmap strategies. We've talked about what are the past achievements and the current situation as well. it's before we close, there's going to be one round of questions on challenges, because the road is not going to be easy, isn't it? You know, Puan Zakia mentioned it's going to be a tall order. Aigul also mentioned there's going to be a lot of programs that needs to be implemented. So we need to talk about challenges as well. So going back to Tamerlan, what are the most significant challenges that you think you'll be facing in expanding green finance? And how do you think AIFC is going to overcome some of these challenges that you will foresee?
Yeah, thanks. Well, overall, I think we're still at the beginning of the journey, let's say, and Kazakhstan and all the other Central Asian countries are late joiners in this, like green agenda. And as I mentioned in my opening speech, the first issue of green bond took place just 4 years ago in 2020. And it took us 3 years to, convince the market, the government, to raise the awareness, to build the capacity. I'd say not everyone is still convinced of the necessity and importance of transition finance, green finance mechanism. So there's still a long way to go, I'd say, and obviously we as a financial center will be continuing our efforts in raising awareness and advocating the need for more sustainable finance development. That's on a high level, and on a more practical level, I think the major challenge most green projects face is the cost of debt. Obviously, as the cost of debt have come down thanks to government subsidies and some other, let's say, incentives supported by the government, but it's still quite, it's not affordable for everyone. And I think that's where we can explore some areas for cooperation with Malaysian financial institutions. We're happy to to host delegation or selected financial institutions from Malaysia to come to Kazakhstan, assess the landscape, see what projects are available for funding, and obviously the lower the cost, the better for greening the economy of Kazakhstan and Central Asia broadly. So that's a challenge and the same way an opportunity, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamerlan. And I do hope among the attendees there's a lot of financial institutions from across Malaysia. Right. So if you're interested in looking at how to work together with Kazakhstan, you can talk to us and we'll help you to connect to AIFC. Now, moving to Aigul, what do you see as the primary barriers to accelerating the adoption of green finance in Kazakhstan, or at least in the Central Asia region? And how do you intend to address these challenges?
Right. So, in fact, compared with other Central Asian nations, Kazakhstan has done quite a progress, let's say, in terms of developing the framework, right, the standards, providing sort of programs, and providing the framework for disclosure, right. And some other nations are still on the way to, catch up on certain developments. For instance, we know that Uzbekistan, they adopted the green taxonomy, the national green taxonomy last year. And we supported the Kyrgyz government in developing the sustainable finance taxonomy, which will include also the social aspect of the projects. But as of now, the standard in Kyrgyzstan has not been adopted yet. And other states, they have some sort of, one or two bond issuances without the whole system in place. So in that sense, we do see that there is a room for improvement in other countries in building the regulatory framework for the market, so which will basically help to build it right from the scratch. And another thing I would like to mention here is if you look at some regional initiatives such as ASEAN Common Ground Taxonomy, right, and then European Union Taxonomy, that might be an opportunity for the region of Central Asia as well, because Kazakhstan is quite a small market. But if we talk about the regional market, let's say Uzbekistan itself is a 30 million market, and there is basically ground for regional standard, which potentially could be done, right? And could help to channel the investment to the region, which is quite small if we talk about like each country separately. But in terms of the standard, if we have the common standard for the whole region, it can bring attention of the investors. Maybe that's one of the things which can be further help to develop the regional market here.
Right. That's a fantastic idea. Collaborations actually increase opportunities in terms of, especially when Temelan mentioned that the cost of debt is something that's quite quite tough to handle. So the collaboration between countries would actually help to absorb some of those risks. Moving forward, Carmen, I'm coming back to you for the questions that I have earlier. Obviously, in Malaysia, food security is one of the biggest challenges as well. And Agrobank is right up there in the forefront. So in driving Agrobank's sustainability agenda, what do you see to be the biggest hurdles and how do you plan to overcome them, especially with all the things that are going on right now?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's now a very often talked about discussion, especially since the Malaysian government has established a whole ministry, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, whereby in previous administrations we have not seen food security having that spotlight before. I would say internally in Agrobank, there are a few prevailing and ongoing unique scenarios. First and foremost, the application of sustainability, we can't really take a templatized approach from other banks because being a development financial institutions, we are unique in the sense that there is a prevailing mandate that we need to fulfill which is the reason of our existence. So we can't really run away from our mandate. So this means any new initiative that we are proposing in the view of sustainability must keep our mandate in mind. This means our target customers, our target objectives, as well as the activities that we are currently financing must be in line with the mandate. And including sustainability in the picture has been an interesting journey for Agrobank, in which then we tried to find avenues for us to innovate our product offerings. I echo what Aigo mentioned earlier, whereby 10% of assets currently are purely green. The other 90% is transition, and that is really prevalent in the agriculture industry. So I think for Agrobank, we still maintain our course by adopting our approach to first and foremost serve our customers in the agriculture sector and to help them improve themselves when it comes to sustainable practices. On the flip side, a lot of the conversation on agro-food and food security is really about maintaining the balance between affordability, accessibility, availability, these three trifecta, which has been in a lot of discussion points in the newspaper these days. But yet, when we want to put in the sustainability and especially more so the climate angle, it has not yet been prominently featured in any of these discussions. And as to what Prasad you have mentioned earlier, a lot of the conversations right now is on energy transition. So this means here agriculture, and especially in agro-food, it is a very unique situation, and it's a very not so much talked about area, of which then Agrobank being deep in the industry, we hope that going forward, we are able to continue playing that advocacy role and to support the development of the industry and to continue promoting our product service offerings. At the same time, as I've mentioned earlier, a part of our journey is to consider whether we want to set an internal climate target. The conundrum right now is if we are going to adopt a climate target, but yet still continue to support our customers who may be in high emitting sectors. This the continued financial support for these customers who are in our mandate would definitely impact the performance of our internal climate target. So there is always that fine balance and it's a dilemma, it's an everyday dilemma of trying to figure out what then is the balance between serving our mandate and to fulfill sustainable development goals. Ironically, as it sounds, there's not much to do, simply because in a development financial institution, in that sense, we are already providing services to the vulnerable communities. So in that sense, there is already an element of a sustainability angle to our business operations. But yet there is still so many more aspects that we have not yet covered. So this, I believe, will be an ongoing matter for everybody in development financial institutions, and we expect that there will be more new innovative solutions coming out of the development financial institutions moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. And we straight move into the aspect of SME development. What are the challenges? What are the challenges within SME Bank itself in terms of implementing the sustainability, and what are the challenges do you see in the industry in this aspect? So Puan Zakia, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad. I echo what Carmen has mentioned. Being a DFI, we have a mandate to serve, and we have a unique customer needs. And what more, most of our customers are the unserved and underserved SMEs. And we understand that DFI play a crucial role in shaping a sustainable future of the nation. We are the gap funder, we are the enabler, and we are the advocator for capacity building and effective policy development. Well, basically, key challenges from SMEs bank perspective as well as the wider banking sector are almost the same. In the second day of fasting month at 4:12 p.m., I would summarize the key challenges as 3 P's. Okay, the first P is people. This is the key factor that enforce and determine the success of any goals. As we can see, talent that really expert or really well versed in ESG is quite scarce in the industry. So it's not only in the banks, it's in the SMEs, and it's in the regulators as well. And lack of awareness and knowledge in either in the staff or in the customer or the regulators would somehow really need to be addressed. And we also lack of technical know-how in evaluating the ESG projects, especially for the bankers, because some of the projects, very limited data and very limited information. So these are the challenges that we are facing. And the second P is the policy. We understand that we need an effective policy in order to regulate us in a comprehensive and more structured manner. So without comprehensive policy and regulations, it's quite difficult for us to move to advance in this sustainability agenda. And also, there's no standard definition, requirements and expectations amongst the key players and stakeholders. Each of us have our own way of understanding, practice and priorities. And we understand that the businessmen out there really struggling and really fighting to be afloat after the pandemic. So we have to ensure that they make profit, but it's in a responsible and sustainable manner. So without the policy, without the regulations, it's quite hard for us to bring them into this objective. And maybe I can share, we are quite lucky. Our central bank has also issued climate change and principle-based taxonomy in April 2021. And it's meant for the financial institutions. And it's a 47-page guide, inclusive of appendices. And it looks, at first glance, we can understand what is required. But moving forward, actually, it's very challenging. We as bankers, for us to digest and practice it, and what more for us to educate the customers to be on the same page. And we understand that this is a long journey, and we should progress from time to time. And the third P is process. Of course, if we have clear policy and regulations, we can have a clear process, but we can't wait. We have to start now. And we have these 3P challenges. How do we enable it? So I have summarized it with 3T and 1F. The first T is training and capacity building. Okay, in SME Bank, with two parts to it. The first one, if we have to train our internal staff, again, we need to train our relationship managers in order for them to educate the customers. And in SME Bank, we have our own training arm, Center of Entrepreneur Development and Research, in short, CEDA. We have come up with our SME 360 end-to-end ESG solution for customers. And in fact, the training is ongoing, and it's somehow getting traction from the customers, especially those involved in imports. And they know the importance of embracing ESG as soon as possible. And the second thing is technology. We are not the technology expert. Of course, we have to collaborate with the SME. SME here is the subject matter expert, be it professional, consultants, ministries or industry players. And the third thing is technical know-how and transfer of knowledge. Again, a collaboration is required here. And through the engagement, through the dialogues, through the webinars, as what we are doing now, we can gauge and we can learn from each other. And I have mentioned the 3T, and what is the 1F? This is the most important, is funds or money. I still remember, it stick in my mind. In one of the session, one speaker mentioned that no money, no honey. Yeah, we need the money in order for us to kickstart whatever plan that we have crafted out. And to be more clearer on this, actually, the government of Malaysia has put aside 10 million grant fund in our 2023 national budget. That 10 million is meant for us to train the SMEs in this ESG journey. So from there, we come up with the module, and those SMEs that interested, they might subscribe to this, and it's free. And that is on national. And for SME Bank, we also put aside a budget in order for us to run the program and initiative that we have planned. And fund can also come from blended finance, be it from public or private capital. So I think if we can see that from challenges, there comes opportunities. We can see that previously, bankers, we are competing with each other, but now we are complementing each other, and we work together. For example, we have this joint committee on climate change, JC3. We have SME focus group. The banks work together in structuring and developing ways how to increase awareness among the SMEs. And JC3, maybe I can share, JC3 SFG, we have launched our ESG Jumpstart portal sometime last year. It's a one-stop information portal that helps upskill and equip local SMEs in ESG knowledge and capabilities. It helps SMEs identify and respond to key ESG issues, risks, and opportunities. Mr. Prasad.
Thank you, Puan Zakia. 3 T's and 1 F: training, technology, technical know-how, and the most important thing, no money, no honey, right? Did I get that right? I hope I got that right. No money, no honey. Right. So funds is the last one. Now we've come to the end of our panel discussion today. As we wrap up today's enlightening discussion on the topic of the green money wave, mastering the art of environmentally focused financing, I want to take this opportunity to express my deepest gratitude to our distinguished panelists, Temirlan Mohan Betsanov, Aigul Kusalieva, Carmen Ng, and Zakia Ahmad Esa for their invaluable insights and contributions. Today, we've traversed the current landscape of green financing, explored strategic roadmaps for sustainable economic growth, and delved into challenges that lie ahead in our collective journey towards environmental sustainability. Now, the achievements highlighted today are not just milestones for each panelist's organizations, but are beacons for the global financial sector's pivotal role in combating climate change and fostering sustainable development. As we conclude, let's carry forward the spirit of today's dialogue, inspired to act and innovate. Every single one of these organizations, AIFC, the GFC, Agrobank, SME Bank, every one of these organizations are responsible towards the collective endeavor. The future is sustainable. And the finance sector is uniquely positioned to lead this charge. So together, let's harness the power of green financing to create a resilient, sustainable, and prosperous world for future generations. Thank you again, one more time, for our panelists and all our participants for joining us in this critical conversation. Your engagement today is a testament to growing momentum behind green finance, and I look forward to seeing the impact of our shared commitment to sustainability in the years to come. But before I hand over the mic to Teh Shuhaida, I would like to take this opportunity to say Ramadan Kareem. And if in case we don't meet in between now until Eid, I would also like to wish everyone Eid Mubarak, even though it's just the second day, right? So Eid Mubarak, everyone. Thank you very much. On to you, Shuhaida.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Prasad. You said it all. Okay, thank you once again to Mr. Tamilan, Ms. Aigul, Mr. Zakia, and Ms. Kaman for the insightful discussion. Well, with that, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all our speakers, panelists, organizers, and participants for making this webinar a resounding success. So let's continue to work together towards a sustainable and prosperous future. Well, thank you once again for joining us today. Until next time, stay safe, stay inspired, and keep riding the green money wave. And not forgetting to all Muslims, happy Iftar. And to all of you, goodbye and have a wonderful day. Assalamualaikum.